Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. For today's episode, we have a very special guest. Can you guys guess who it is? I will be interviewing myself. We got some requests about getting to know your host. In a lot of the episodes, we interview other people and you guys get to know other people. But in this one, I would share a lot about myself so you guys can get some background information and know who I am. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let's jump right in. Well, welcome, Yegi. Thank you for coming in. Well, it's no problem. Thank you so much for having me. I had a pretty long drive, but I had to make it for you since you requested me as a special guest today. To start off with, please tell everybody who you are and what you're all about. In fact, let's do the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. Actually, we can do the how as well. How did you get started? So who am I, right? I'm having a hard time answering this question because what defines who we are, right? I'm going to probably want to go deep into this question, but without overthinking it, some of the things that might define who I am is I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a coach, and I am also a podcast host as my career. In my personal life, I'm also a wife and a mother to 2 children. That's a very quick summary of who I am, career and, personal life wise. But as far as what I do is, I guess I defined a little bit already, like what I do is these days, mainly I'm focusing on growing this podcast because I really feel like I have like this mission to spread overall like happiness, right? That's the end goal. But this podcast really allows, and it's called the Yegi Project, it really allows people to be their best self. If it's in their business, in their career, in their personal life, to really develop personally in order to live the life that they really want to live. And the ultimate goal is to be happy most of the time, right? We can't always be in a happy state. But anyways, that's what I do and why I do it. And I guess the last W is when I got started in the entrepreneurship journey back in 2015 as a business owner, and my local business was a beauty business. So it was a full service salon that started in Burbank, transitioned into an eyelash specialty salon, and then it evolved into an academy, so training and a product line all for eyelash extensions. And then a couple of years ago, I decided to really focus on this podcast and really seriously, maybe about a year ago, dedicated at least a good 1 full day a week to be able to grow it. Because like I said, I really know that this is my purpose, it's my mission. So here we are. So that's a very quick summary of everything that I am in the 5 W's. All right, here's a random icebreaker question. How did you meet your husband? So my husband and I actually met in a very funny way. So he had, there's a whole episode actually with my husband and I on this podcast, but we met in a very funny way. So he was not my type at all. And, in these days, people try to reach out to you for a date on social media. So he had found me through a mutual friend, like nobody I really knew, just like from a friend of a friend or whatever. And he had tried to ask me out or try to talk to me. He slid in my DMs on Instagram and on Facebook, and I just really was not interested. So I kept on like blowing him off until one day we randomly ran into each other. Well, we were in the same place at the same time, and I didn't know him. Like I never would recognize him. I never really paid attention because I wasn't interested when I
when it was a random person on social media trying to talk to me, like I wasn't interested. So I didn't even remember his face. So we were actually sitting, my group of friends, we're a group of girls, we were actually there for a bachelorette party. We were sitting at this table, having a great time, obviously drinking, giggling, the girl fun time. And then him and his friend came and sat next to us at the other table, but he didn't know like I was there. It was super random coincidence. So they were there. They're having a good time. Like, obviously, we're not interested in anybody. We're just really like having a good girl time. And then randomly, like, I see somebody coming and tapping me on the shoulder. Then I turn around and I'm like, yes. And he literally goes like, well, I know you. And then I'm like, no, like, you don't know me, because if you knew me, I would know you. Like, you don't know me. I've never seen you in my life. So then I kind of like push him away. Then he comes back like a second later, super consistent and persistent. I guess like if you guys want dating advice, it works. Like persistency worked. This guy, like, I don't know, maybe a couple of years even from like the first time he tried to reach out to me until I actually went out on a date with him. Yeah, I got very lucky with him. But anyways, going back to the story, literally then I push him back and then he comes back. He's pulling a conversation from like Instagram and Facebook. He's like, look, I know you. I'm like, bro, just because you message me doesn't mean you know me. But that was kind of the icebreaker. And, I had a little to drink. He was actually very attractive in person and silly and like fun. So I kind of like, he got my interest then when I actually met him in person. And then, yeah, one thing led to the other. We ended up going on a date, and our first date was Disneyland. I think that's a super cool first date. So he did good there, trying to, hook me in. But yeah, so that's how we met. Well, on the more serious matter, what is one of the biggest failure you had? Failure. Honestly, I never have looked at anything and considered it a failure, because the way I look at things is when something's not working out for me, I kind of pivot and redirect to a new direction. So I'll give you an example so that makes sense. But it is in the line of failure, but I don't like calling it a failure, because I don't let it to get to that point where it's like, oh my God, it's a total fail. Instead we pivot and we redirect. Okay. So here's my kind of failure story and what I learned from it. So back in 2015, when I started my business, okay, brand new in the entrepreneurship, I never managed people in my life. I went into the beauty business thinking, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. I have my business degree. I have like a lot of work experience. I have had a lot of like high positions and I'm very professional. So the beauty industry is going to be a piece of cake. I can run this with my eyes closed, don't have to do anything. I just invest the money, hire people, boom, it's going to be great. It did not work out that way. So I think kind of a failure was that I had to do a lot of work myself as a small business owner. I literally had to wear all the hats, from janitor to receptionist to actually doing the beauty services, because I also have a cosmetology license. As the salon was established, it was established as a full service salon, so we did all sorts of services: hair, makeup, nails, you name it, like anything under beauty, right? But initially services were not picking up. Like there was a point where I was doing haircut and blow dry for like $9. We had run a Groupon just to get people through the door, like build, do whatever it takes. Like literally we were losing money, or I was losing money doing these services to try to build a business. And for some reason, it was not working. I had maybe like 5-6 other service providers, and I wasn't able to get them clients. And that's the shittiest feeling for a business owner or like a team leader, to feel like you are letting your team down. That's kind of how we felt. Like these people are here, they're waiting for clients to make money, because a lot of like the service providers were commission based. So that was the part that kind of felt like a failure, that, okay, I have some clients, we're trying to get the business rolling, but I can't get other people fully booked. So that's when I really felt like a failure. But at that time, I was personally doing eyelash extensions. Eyelash extensions were still kind of new then. It wasn't super saturated. It wasn't super popular, but I was really, really booked and busy with lash clients to a point where I literally was turning people away. So what I did was the girls that were doing hair and makeup and other services, I was like, hey guys, like, let me train you on lashes. Like, there's clients for this. I could tell them, look, I'm busy, but I have this other girl who does it, because at that point I was the only one doing it. So I started training. That's kind of how it eventually evolved into an official academy, but that's what I decided to do. I trained the other girls into the lashes, and they started doing that services instead. And eventually we turned the salon into just a full lash extension salon instead of a full service salon. So if I were to, but at that point, before I made that decision to get rid of the hair stations, get rid of the makeup stations, make them into like lash rooms and areas, it was really devastating, because it was almost like, okay, I'm failing this other part of the business or the salon. But now looking back, literally, like, that's what we need to do. We need to be realistic, and we need to look at what's going on and how we can pivot and how we can redirect, even if it's what we're doing, in order to make it successful. And honestly, I could proudly say that the business really was positive from the first year, like dramatically. Like, all this I'm talking about was a matter of like the first year until we figured it out that, okay, it's just a full lash service salon. Wow, I love the way you think. I think about 1% or 1 to 2% of the people actually find their purpose and their mission in life, and they want to leave something behind. Or I think it's part of our need as humans to want to leave something behind, but I don't think it's that common for people to really like seriously, clearly find their purpose and their mission. So my question to you is, what do you want to be remembered for? Well, that's honestly an easy question for me to answer, because I have thought about this really long and hard, and I've done a lot of deep soul searching for like 10 years now to figure out what it is. But I'm still trying to clarify and fully like define how I'm going to achieve this. But the ultimate goal would be, I want people to remember me as, like, if I died, literally, I want people to stand and say, oh my God, Yegi changed my life towards the better, obviously. But I want to be remembered that I made an influence on people's lives for them to live better, more fulfilled, happy, well-rounded, like really fulfilling lives that they fully have a control over, instead of getting stuck in this day to day and being like sad half the time, miserable half the time, not loving what they do. I'm also a big advocate of getting people in the right jobs and right careers to make sure they're happy during the longest period of their day, right? When we're at work or doing, what earns us money. Very interesting. If your parents were here right now, what's a funny story they would tell about you? Well, a funny story. I don't know if it was funny for them, but it's funny for me now, because I don't know, something about freaking people out is kind of funny sometimes. But when I was a kid, I was very stubborn in a way, but also very quiet and very closed off. So this is what happened. We had a neighbor, and I had a neighbor friend, and it was this girl, and we were just playing outside, and I literally remember this. We were playing with a stick, but my parents are telling me this story after the fact, but I remember what happened prior to the fact. So we're playing with the stick, like, I was living in Armenia. It was kind of a third world country. We're just playing with sticks outside, the good old days, not many distractions with screens and all. Okay, anyways, side note. But yeah, so we're playing with the stick outside, and she took the stick from me, and I got very upset, and I literally ran inside. So in my parents' home, back in Armenia, we was like a big lot, and there was like 4 properties on there, right? It was like our house, my grandparents' house, my uncle's house, and like my dad's uncle's house, like something like that. And we all like shared like a huge backyard. But at this point, like 3 of the houses were empty and no one was living there because they had all moved to America at that point. But literally, I went in one of the empty houses. It was still furnished. There was a sofa. I literally hid behind a sofa and I cried and cried until I guess I fell asleep. And they thought I was lost because we were playing on the street. You know, that was normal back in the day. And they thought I was lost. Somebody took me. So they're freaking out. They're like going all over looking for me until I kind of like wake up from my nap. And then I go up and I'm like, what's happening? Why are you crying, Mom? Yeah. So that was the story. I was very, very unique when it came to being upset. I guess I just hid and cried, but now I would fight back. Oh my God, you must have freaked out your parents. As you said, it is very important to you to be able to do the job you love, enjoy your day to day, and try to spread that to other people so they also do the same. But have you ever had a job, or what's been your least favorite job? Honestly, I've gotten pretty lucky with jobs. Like starting off, I always had office jobs and I've gotten really lucky right out of school. But one of the jobs, it was in the medical industry, and my background's in business. So my degree's in business and accounting, and I have my bachelor's, my master's. So I got this fancy job and my title was the director of sales and marketing, and it sounded all great. And basically ultimately, my responsibility was with networking with doctors in order to get patients into our nursing facility. Now, it sounds simple and fine, but I hated it so much. It wasn't really anything unethical, but I hated the fact that I had to like network without wanting to. I don't know. It was just weird. I hated that dynamic, that relationship of like almost like I was less than the doctors, or a lot of them, that's how they treated me, because I was basically needing them to refer patients to us. And I hated the fact that for the medical field, I just don't feel like we need to do sales and marketing. Like people should just do what's really needed, and it should just be at that. I don't know. I just hated it. It wasn't unethical, but something in me never felt right about it. I just really wasn't the right fit for that job, I think. But yeah, that was my least favorite job. And I did not do that, not even for a year. So I was like, I'm out of here, not working. Oh boy, I would have hated that job. Okay, now, if you were able to go back and give your 18-year-old self advice, what would it be? I would say, girl, you got this. You got this. Like, don't worry. Everything's going to be just perfect. Like, don't worry so much. I think that's what I would tell myself if I were to go back. But that's like easier said than done. I don't know if any other specific advice. No, I think that's it. And I think that's kind of a message from my future self to me now. Or I think that should be the message to all of us from our future self. Like, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to work out. If we're going through like a rough patch or a hard phase, if it's in business, personal, like at the end of the day, our lives and businesses go through seasons, and it's just going to go back and it's going to be all fine. So I think that's the best advice, to try not to worry and find techniques and have faith and figure out how to not worry, because it is easier said than done. But there are tools and ways to be able to worry less or not worry. So that could be a whole other episode, but Google it. I'm sure you guys can find some extra stuff with how to not worry. But that's the advice I would give my 18-year-old self. That is great advice. All right, so let's talk about morning routines. I mean, I don't know if it's been talked about too much, or people are overhearing you have to have a good morning routine, because sometimes I'm overhearing you have to have a good morning routine, but I really think it makes a difference. So what is your morning routine currently? Well, my current morning routine, it is definitely not where I want it to be. I can tell you guys what I want my morning routine to look like, but since I do have 2 young children, my morning routine is being woken up, not even by an alarm clock. I don't know which one I prefer. I think I prefer the alarm clock, but my son comes and wakes me up between 6:30, between 6 to 7 actually. And then I'm spending time with him, and then I get ready to just get out of the house so then I can try to have a moment for myself and be able to be productive. But that's a work in progress. I did recently get a nanny in order to try to slowly work on my morning routine where I do have time for myself and I do feel more kind of powerful in the mornings leaving the house instead of feeling like drained. But in the past, before kids, what my morning routine would look like, it was actually I would wake up, I would do like a quick journaling, like where I'm at, what I'm grateful for, like anything that came into my mind that was kind of gonna check in with myself. And then after that, I would do either yoga or I would run. I would either run on the treadmill or literally on the street, depending on the weather. I prefer outdoors, but 20 minutes of running, it would just put me in such a good mood. Then I would eat breakfast and literally start my day. And literally I would feel so much energy, so much power, so much happiness starting my day. So I can't wait to get back to that point where I'm doing that morning routine, because I definitely miss that feeling. It's like a weird high if you get a good solid morning routine. But I would say those of you who are struggling to do morning routines, it's tough. A lot of time we're tired, we don't feel like it. Try different things in the morning or within your morning routines to see what works for you. You don't have to follow the cookie cutter of, oh, I need to exercise, I need to journal, I need to meditate. Just do a few different things, see what makes you feel good as a start of your day and do that. Okay, so everybody's morning routine should make them feel good. If anything in your morning is not making you feel good, don't do it. Okay, so last question before we wrap up for today. I do have a lot more, but we're running out of time. I'm going to have to book you again and invite you back for a part 2. What is something crazy that you want to do right now? Is there something crazy in your mind that you would just do right now? Of course there is. There always is something crazy I want to do. Part of me for a while now, crazy, has been wanting to literally like pack up and leave to Italy for 6 months and then see what happens. But I cannot do that currently, but I deeply want to do it. So I know if I really wanted to do it, I could find out a way, but there's too many things going on in my life that's keeping me in this specific location right now. So that's not going to happen. But I really want to do that crazy thing. But if I could, that's what I would do as my crazy thing right now. Oh, and I would go like in a very small town and like almost like go incognito and just like really try to be with locals, like olden days, just disconnect, just be present, live my day to day, not worry about anything, not look at computers, I don't know, nothing. Just like a very, very simple life for 6 months in Italy. And eat really good food. That's what I want. That sounds so amazing right now. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time and taking the time to drive all the way here to meet me in person. I appreciate it so, so much. It's been amazing. It's been great. You're wonderful. It's been so much fun. Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.